George Miller looked at me like I'd just asked to walk into a cage with a loaded weapon. Are you sure you want to see that dog? The way he said it, low and careful, like he was warning me about something dangerous instead of just asking a question, made me stop with my hand still on the shelter door. I'm standing in a concrete hallway that smells like disinfectant and fear, and it's a Tuesday afternoon in California's Central Valley, the kind of quiet day where nothing important is supposed to happen. She's trouble, George continues, and I hear something in his voice that isn't quite fear. It's resignation. We've had incidents. I should walk away. I know I should. I'm 42 years old, Dewey Mason, and I came here to drop off supplies, not to upend what's left of my carefully controlled life. But something about the way George looks exhausted instead of afraid makes me follow him anyway. We walk past kennels full of noise, dogs barking, jumping, desperate. Then we reach the last cage, number 42, and it's dead silent. Inside sits a brindle pit bull with a white blaze running down her face like war paint. Her body is rigid, pressed against the chain-link fence so hard it's like she's trying to disappear into it. Her coat is clean, but her eyes look exactly like mine did 2 years ago, when I sat alone in a hospital waiting room at 3 a.m., waiting for news that never came. "This is Zoe," George says quietly, and now there's someone else with us. Lorene Heller, the shelter's behavior coordinator, holding a thick manila folder like it's evidence in a criminal trial. She doesn't waste time. Aggressive response patterns. Bite history documented in 3 separate incidents. Failed 2 foster placements. She's been flagged as emotionally unstable and unadoptable. I'm listening to the words. I understand them, but I can't stop looking at Zoe. She hasn't moved, hasn't barked. Every other dog in this place is fighting for attention, but she's just frozen, not with aggression, with defeat. "We need to be transparent," Lorene continues, her voice clinical. "If you take her, you're assuming significant liability. She requires behavioral intervention we can't provide here. The adoption would be at your own risk." Jason Snyder, another staff member, appears behind us. He's younger, nervous. "Man, I don't know if this is a good idea. She snapped at me last week just for walking past." George puts a hand on the kennel. "I've been here 8 years. I've never told anyone not to adopt. But Zoe, she's not ready. Maybe she'll never be ready." I should listen to them. Everything in my practical, fix houses for a living brain is screaming at me to walk away. But here's what nobody tells you about grief. It rewires something in you. It makes you see yourself in the things everyone else has given up on. I kneel down next to the cage, my knees hitting cold concrete. Zoe's eyes flick toward me for half a second, then away, and in that split-second glance I see everything I've been drowning in. The exhaustion, the shutdown, the look that says, hope is just another way to get hurt. "Let's go home," I whisper. Lorene's pen stops moving on her clipboard. "Mr. Mason, I need you to understand what you're signing up for. This isn't a project. This is a dog with documented aggression." "She's not aggressive," I interrupt, surprising myself. "She's terrified." The room goes quiet. George studies my face for a long moment, then nods slowly. "All right, let's do the paperwork." 20 minutes later, I'm signing forms I barely read. Acknowledgement of behavioral issues, liability waivers, a medical history that includes trauma indicators and psychological red flags. My hand is shaking slightly as I sign the last page. That's when Earl Riles, an older volunteer with gray stubble and eyes that have seen too many dogs not make it out, walks over. He leans against the counter and looks at me. "Son," he says, voice gravelly but not unkind, "I've been doing this for 15 years. I can usually tell who's going to bring a dog back within the first week." He glances toward the kennel area where Zoe is. "You're either the bravest person who's walked through that door, or you're about to learn why some dogs don't get second chances." I look him straight in the eye. "Maybe both." He hands me a worn leash and a folded blanket. "For the ride home," he says. There's something in his expression. Not quite respect, not quite pity. Maybe just recognition. George helps me get Zoe out of the kennel. She doesn't resist, but she doesn't cooperate either. She just tolerates it. Like she's learned that fighting doesn't change anything. I wrap her in the blanket and lift her. She's heavier than I expected, all muscle and tension. She doesn't look at me. Don't look at anything. The automatic doors slide open and California sunlight hits us both. Zoe squints against it like she hasn't seen daylight in months. Maybe she hasn't. I settled her in the passenger seat of my truck. She immediately curls into the far corner, pressing herself against the door. As I'm walking around to the driver's side, my phone buzzes. I didn't check it. I already know it's probably someone who'll tell me this is a mistake. I climb in, start the engine, and just sit there for a moment with the heat blasting. Zoe stares out the window, not at the world passing by, but at her own reflection in the glass, like she's trying to figure out who that dog is. We're going to figure this out, I tell her. I don't know if I'm talking to her or to myself. The shelter disappears in my rearview mirror, and one thought loops in my head. What the hell did I just do? Before we begin, click subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more thrilling stories like this. Trust me, you won't want to miss the next one. I sit on the floor across from her, my back against the couch, and watch her watch me with those devastated eyes. And for the first time in 2 years, I think about why I really stopped at that shelter today. It wasn't about donating supplies. It was about finding something, anything that needed me more than I needed to feel nothing. Zoe hasn't moved from her spot by the door. She's been standing there for 10 minutes, locked in place like a statue. I reach slowly for the water bowl and slide it toward her. She doesn't even look down. The house settles around us in silence. My phone buzzes again. This time I checked it. Dad, please call me. Did you really adopt a dog? My daughter, Sarah. Of course she knows. The shelter probably has me listed as an emergency contact somewhere, and somehow word travels fast in small towns. I silence the phone and set it face down on the floor. You don't have to be afraid here, I tell Zoe. She blinks once. That's it. The next morning I went back to the shelter. I tell myself it's to pick up the rest of Zoe's medical records, but really I need answers. I need to understand what I've actually brought into my home. George Miller is at the front desk when I walk in, and his face does something complicated when he sees me. Surprise mixed with resignation. Dewey, he says carefully. How's she doing? She won't eat, won't drink, won't move. I lean against the counter. I need to see her file, the full file. George exchanges a glance with Lorene Heller, who's appeared from the back office like she's been waiting for this conversation. Mr. Mason, Lorene begins, her tone measured. We disclosed everything relevant during the adoption process. I want to see the incident reports. A pause, then George nods slowly and disappears into a back room. While I wait, Jason Snyder walks past carrying a bag of kibble. He stops when he sees me, and his face goes carefully neutral. You're back, he says. Not a question, more like an observation. Picking up records. Right. He shifts the bag to his other arm. Look, man, I don't want to pile on, but be careful with her. She's unpredictable. Last week, she snapped at me when I was just trying to refill her water. Didn't bite, but came close. What did you do right before that? I ask. Jason blinks. What? Before she snapped. What were you doing? He thinks about it. I don't know, walking past? Maybe I moved too fast. I don't remember. Did she growl first? Give you any warning? No, she just... It was sudden. I nod slowly. But she didn't bite you. No, but... And you're fine. Jason's jaw tightens. Yeah, I'm fine. This time, he shifts the bag again. I'm just saying, don't let your guard down. Dogs like that, they're wired wrong. One bad day and... He trails off, but the implication hangs in the air. George returns with a thick folder, interrupting whatever Jason was about to say. He slides it across the counter toward me, but keeps his hand on it for a moment. This is every incident we have on record, George says quietly. But Dewey, before you read it, you need to understand that these reports are written to protect the shelter. They document risk, not context. What's that supposed to mean? George hesitates. It means sometimes being scared looks a lot like danger. I take the folder to my truck and sit in the parking lot reading. Incident report, Bur 1. Zoe displayed aggressive posturing when approached by volunteers during feeding. Lunged toward the kennel gate. No contact made. Volunteer unharmed but shaken. Incident report number 2. Dogs exhibited reactive behavior during routine health checks. Snapped at veterinary assistant. No bite occurred. Muzzle recommended for future examinations. Incident report number 3. Zoe demonstrated resistance to leash handling. Spun and made contact with the handler's hand. Minor scratch. Handler declined medical treatment. Each report is stamped with red ink. Behavioral concern. High risk. I read them twice, then a third time. And with each reading, the same questions surface. What happened before the lunge? What did approached actually mean? How did they touch her during the health check? What kind of contact, a bite or just panic? These aren't descriptions of an aggressive dog. These are descriptions of a terrified one. Earl Riles appears at my truck window, startling me. I roll it down. Thought you might be out here, he says, leaning against the door. Read the file? Yeah. And I look at him. These reports don't tell me who Zoe is. They tell me who everyone decided she was. Earl's weathered face creases into something that might be approval. You're not wrong. He glances back at the shelter building. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter if she's scared or mean. The end result's the same. Someone gets hurt, the dog gets put down, the shelter gets sued. That's the reality. So what was I supposed to do? Leave her there? Most people would. He straightens up, about to walk away, then stops. Look, I'm not saying you made the wrong choice. I'm saying you made the hard one. And hard choices cost something. His eyes hold mine. The question is, how much are you willing to pay? I drive home with the folder on the passenger seat, my mind churning. I'm not equipped for this. The thought surfaces again and again, insistent and loud. I'm a contractor. I fix drywall and replace rotted mooring. I don't know anything about traumatized dogs or behavioral rehabilitation or whatever the hell this is going to require. I shouldn't do this. The rational part of my brain lists all the reasons. I work long hours. I'm barely keeping my own life together. I can't afford another thing to fail. And then, unbidden, another memory surfaces. Fluorescent hospital lights, the ones that hum and flicker at 2 a.m. Orange plastic chairs in a waiting room that smells like industrial cleaner and grief. A nurse handed me a clipboard, her face professionally sympathetic. We need you to sign here, and here, initial here. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the pen. I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Mason. Paperwork after tragedy. Documents that turn a person into a file, a life into a case number. Words like time of death and personal effects and funeral arrangements that your brain can't quite process because processing them means accepting they're real. I'd signed everything they put in front of me, just like I'd signed everything at the shelter yesterday. I pull into my driveway and sit there, engine running, staring at my empty house. Zoe is inside, probably still standing in the same spot, still convinced that hoping for anything better is just another way to get hurt. And I realize something. I'm not saving her. I'm proving to myself that something broken can still be worth fighting for. I grab the folder, turn off the truck, and head inside. When I open the door, Zoe is exactly where I left her. She doesn't greet me, doesn't react at all. I sit down on the floor, my back against the couch again, and stay there. I don't know what I'm doing, I tell her honestly, but I'm not giving up on you. Her ear twitches, just barely. It's not much, but it's something. That first night, I learned the difference between a dog that's dangerous and a dog that's been destroyed. The sun sets around 7, bleeding orange and purple through the living room window. I've kept the lights off, thinking maybe the darkness will help Zoe feel less exposed. She's moved exactly once in the past 4 hours, from her spot by the door to the space behind the couch, where she's wedged herself into the corner like she's trying to become part of the wall. I can see just the tip of her white muzzle and one brown eye reflecting what little light comes through the window. Zoe, I say softly, are you hungry? Nothing. Not even the ear twitch from earlier. I've left the food bowl in the kitchen, the water bowl near the couch. Both untouched. I read somewhere that dogs can go 3 days without food, but only 3 days without water before it becomes dangerous. I'm trying not to think about that timeline. The house settles around us with all those small sounds that become deafening in silence. The refrigerator humming, the heater clicking on, the creak of old wood adjusting to the cooling air. Sounds I usually don't notice. Sounds that tonight feel intrusive. I think about turning on the TV. Then I remember the truck backfire from the incident reports and decide against it. Around 8, I make myself a sandwich I don't taste and eat it standing at the kitchen counter. From there, I can just barely see the edge of Zoe's paw, completely still. I'm going to bed, I tell her, even though I know she won't respond. You can come out whenever you want. The whole house is yours. I leave every door open and head to the bedroom. I don't remember falling asleep, but I'm ripped out of it at 2:47 a.m. by a sound that stops my heart. It's not barking. It's not even a normal dog sound. It's screaming, raw, guttural, human-sounding screaming coming from the living room. I'm out of bed before I'm fully conscious, stumbling through the dark hallway in my boxers and t-shirt, my mind already catastrophizing. She's hurt. She's dying. Something's broken. I hit the light switch. Zoe is still behind the couch, but she's convulsing. Her whole body is rigid and shaking, her legs jerking like she's running from something. Her eyes are half open, but she's not seeing anything. And that sound, God, that sound keeps coming from deep in her chest. Zoe! I drop to my knees, but I don't touch her. Some instinct tells me that touching her right now, while she's locked in whatever hell she's reliving, would be worse. The screaming shifts to a high-pitched whine, then back to that awful, almost human cry. You're safe, I say, my voice cracking. You're safe, girl. You're home. It takes 3 minutes. I know because I'm watching the clock on the wall, counting each second, before her body starts to relax. The screaming fades to whimpering, then to ragged breathing. Her eyes focus slowly. She sees me kneeling there 5 feet away, and her whole body goes rigid again. But this time it's different. This isn't sleep. This is hypervigilance. This is prey-level fear. It's okay, I whisper. I'm not going to hurt you. We stay like that, her pressed into the corner, me on my knees on the cold floor, for what feels like an hour. Eventually, her breathing slows. Her eyes stop darting between me and the doorway, between me and the window, between me and every possible escape route she doesn't have. I stand slowly and back away toward the hall. I'm going to stay out here tonight, I tell her. I'll be on the couch. You're not alone. I grab my pillow and a blanket from the bedroom and make a nest on the couch. From here, I can just see Zoe in her corner. She's still shaking, but the tremors are smaller now. More like aftershocks than earthquakes. I lie there in the dark, listening to her breathe. And that's when it hits me. The parallel I've been trying not to see. I know that sound she made. Not the screaming exactly, but what's behind it. The way trauma doesn't just live in your memories, it lives in your body, in your bones, in the places you can't think or talk your way out of. I've had my own version of those nightmares, the ones where I'm back in that hospital hallway, where the fluorescent lights flicker and the linoleum squeaks under my shoes, and I can see the doctor's mouth moving, but I can't hear the words. Where I'm running toward a room I know I'll never reach in time. Where I wake up gasping, my chest tight, my hands clutching sheets that are soaked with sweat. I haven't had one in 6 months. I thought maybe I was done with them. But lying here, listening to Zoe's ragged breathing, I realize they never really go away. You just learn to live around them. You learn to function despite carrying that weight. You learn that survival isn't the same thing as healing. You're not bad, I whisper into the darkness, unsure if I'm talking to her or myself. You're just trying to survive something that should have killed you. Around 4 a.m., Zoe shifts slightly. I hear the soft sound of her body adjusting against the wall. Around 5, I hear her drink water. Just a little. The sound of her tongue lapping at the bowl is so quiet I almost miss it. I don't move. Don't react. Don't do anything that might spook her back into paralysis. By the time the gray dawn light starts filtering through the window, I haven't slept. Neither has she, from what I can tell. We're both just lying here in our separate corners, two broken things existing in the same space, not sure what comes next. My phone buzzes on the coffee table. I ignore it. The sunlight gets brighter. Birds start making noise outside. The world wakes up and continues on like nothing happened. Like Zoe didn't just relive her trauma on my living room floor, like I didn't just spend the night watching someone else fight my same demons. Day 2, I say quietly, my voice rough from not using it. We made it to day 2. From behind the couch, I hear the softest sound. Not quite a whimper, not quite acknowledgement, just the faint exhale of something that's been holding its breath. And I understand something I should have known from the start. This isn't about training her to be less dangerous. This is about teaching her that the world might, just possibly, stop hurting her long enough to catch her breath. I've got you, I tell her. I don't know how yet, but I've got you. The morning light fills the room cold and honest. Neither of us moves. By day 5, Zoe has started eating. Not much, just enough to keep my panic at bay. She drinks water when she thinks I'm not looking. She's moved from behind the couch to under the dining room table, which I'm choosing to see as progress. I decided it's time to try a walk. The moment I pick up the leash from the hook by the door, Zoe freezes. Her whole body goes rigid, and that hollow look returns to her eyes. The one that says she knows what comes next and it isn't good. Just around the block, I tell her, keeping my voice level. Fresh air, that's all. It takes me 15 minutes to get the leash clipped to her collar. She doesn't fight me, but she doesn't help either. She just stands there, trembling, while I work the clasp with hands that are shakier than I want to admit. When we step outside, she plants her feet on the porch. The sunlight seems to confuse her, like she's forgotten what it feels like. I don't pull. I just wait. Eventually, she takes one step, then another. We make it to the end of my driveway before I notice Mrs. Chen from next door standing in her yard, her pruning shears frozen mid-cut. She's staring at Zoe with an expression I recognize immediately, fear dressed up as concern. "Morning, Mrs. Chen," I called out. "Morning, Dewey." She doesn't look at me. Her eyes are locked on Zoe. That's a pit bull, isn't it?" "Yeah, this is Zoe." "Oh." A pause. "Is she safe?" The question lands like an accusation. "She's fine," I say, keeping my tone light. "Just getting some air." Mrs. Chen nods but doesn't move, doesn't go back to her roses. She just watches us with those careful eyes as we turn onto the sidewalk. We make it half a block. Zoe is walking like she's forgotten how, stiff-legged, head down, every muscle coiled tight. I'm keeping the leash loose, trying to let her set the pace. We're moving so slowly that a kid on a bike passes us twice. That's when the truck comes around the corner. It's an old Ford, probably from the 70s, with an exhaust system that sounds like it's held together with duct tape and prayer. The driver is just cruising down the residential street, not speeding, not doing anything wrong. But as it passes us, the engine backfires. Bang! The sound is sharp, violent, like a gunshot in the quiet morning air. Zoe explodes. She lunges sideways so hard she nearly yanks the leash from my hand. Her body twists, and she whips around toward the sound, toward the noise that means danger. That means pain, and her teeth flash as she snaps at the leash itself. Not at me, at the leash. Her jaws close on nothing but air and nylon, but the violence of the movement, the raw panic in it, sends a jolt of adrenaline through my entire system. "Zoe!" She's spinning now, tangled in the leash, trying to bolt but caught in the thing that's supposed to keep her safe. Her eyes are wild, white-rimmed. She's not seeing me. She's not seeing the street. She's somewhere else entirely. I drop to my knees immediately, loosening the leash, giving her slack. "You're okay," I'm saying, but my voice sounds distant even to my own ears. "You're okay, girl. It's just a truck. You're okay." It takes 30 seconds, maybe 40, for her to stop struggling. When she finally stills, she's panting so hard I can see her whole ribcage heaving. She won't look at me, and that's when I notice we have an audience. Mrs. Chen is still in her yard, but now she's been joined by Tom Brenner from across the street. He's standing on his porch with his coffee mug frozen halfway to his mouth. 2 houses down, someone I don't recognize is filming us with their phone. Filming. My blood runs cold. I get Zoe back to the house, my hands shaking worse than hers. She retreats immediately to her spot under the dining room table and won't come out. I sit on the couch, my head in my hands, and see the whole thing play out in my mind. The leash snapped, the panic, the teeth, no contact, no injury. But that's not what it looked like. That's not what the person with the phone saw. They saw a pit bull attacking its owner. They saw aggression, danger, everything the shelter warned me about. I pull out the folder of incident reports I brought home from the shelter and flip through them again with new eyes. Incident report number 1. Lunge toward the kennel gate. What really happened? A loud noise in the hallway? A sudden movement? Something that triggered the exact same response I just witnessed? Incident report number 2. Snapped at the veterinary assistant during a health check. Was she trying to bite or was she trying to escape? Was she being aggressive or was she panicking? Incident report 3. Make contact with the handler's hand during leash handling. Today she snapped at the leash itself, at the thing restraining her. Not at me, never at me. But if someone hadn't been paying attention, if someone had written a report based on what it looked like instead of what actually happened, it would read exactly like those shelter reports. Dewey Mason experienced a reactive incident during a routine walk. The dog snapped in the direction of the handler, recommended immediate behavioral intervention. Just like that, fear becomes fact. Panic becomes violence. Trauma becomes a criminal record. This moment, this single moment, could destroy her. One phone call to animal control, one complaint from a nervous neighbor, one viral video with a caption like, "Dangerous pit bull attacks owner." And it wouldn't matter that no one got hurt. It wouldn't matter that she was reacting to a trigger, not choosing violence. She'd be labeled. Again. And this time, I might not be able to save her from it. My phone rings. It's Sarah. "Dad, Mrs. Chen just called me. She said, your dog tried to attack you on the street?" I close my eyes. That's not what happened. She said she saw it. She said the dog was vicious. Sarah. My voice comes out harder than I intend. Mrs. Chen saw a scared dog react to a loud noise. That's all. Dad, no one got hurt. Zoe didn't bite anyone. She didn't even try to. A long pause. Mrs. Chen said you should return her before someone gets hurt. Mrs. Chen doesn't know what she's talking about. Dad, please, I can't. Her voice cracks. I can't lose you too. The words hit me like a physical blow. I know what she's really saying. I know what she's afraid of. That I'm being reckless. That I'm choosing a broken dog over my own safety. That I'm not thinking clearly because I'm still grieving. Maybe she's right. I need to go, I tell her. I'll call you later. I hang up before she can argue. Under the table, Zoe hasn't moved. Her eyes are still doing that thing where they look through everything instead of at anything. I think about what George said at the shelter. Sometimes being scared looks a lot like dangerous. I think about how easy it would be to misread what happened today. How easy it's been for everyone, shelter staff, volunteers, neighbors, to see threat instead of trauma. I could control her, force her to walk even when trucks pass. Use a prong collar or a choke chain or any of the tools people use when they decide a dog's fear is a discipline problem. I could make her obey, or I could choose patience. I get down on the floor, a safe distance from her table refuge. You didn't do anything wrong, I told her. That sound scared you and you reacted. That's all. You didn't hurt anyone. You didn't hurt me. Her ear twitches. Tomorrow we'll try again. Shorter distance. Maybe just the porch. We'll go at your speed. I stay there on the floor until my knees ache and the afternoon light shifts across the room. Outside, I can hear Mrs. Chen talking to someone in her yard. Their voices are low, concerned, punctuated by glances toward my house. Let them watch. Let them whisper. I'm not giving up on her because the world refuses to understand the difference between dangerous and devastated. The vet appointment takes me 3 days to schedule because I can't get Zoe into the truck. She stands at the passenger door, trembling, refusing to jump in. I try lifting her, all 60 pounds of rigid, terrified dog, and nearly throw my back out. I try coaxing her with treats she won't eat. I try waiting for her out. Finally, on the third attempt, I lay a blanket on the seat and just sit in the truck with the door open. Engine off, doing nothing. After 20 minutes, she jumps in on her own and immediately curls into the smallest ball possible against the far door. Small victories. Dr. Veronica McClure's clinic is a small practice on the edge of town, the kind of place that still has a bell over the door and magazines from 2019 in the waiting room. I chose her because George mentioned she volunteers at the shelter sometimes. She gets it, he'd said. When we walk in, me practically dragging Zoe, who's planted her feet every 3 steps, Veronica comes out from the back immediately. She's younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with kind eyes and the sort of calm energy that makes you trust her instantly. You must be Zoe, she says, not to me, but to the dog pressed against my legs. Zoe doesn't look at her. And you're Dewey. Veronica extends her hand and I shake it. George called, told me to expect you two. What did he say? That you adopted the unadoptable dog and I should be gentle with both of you. She smiles, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. Come on back. The exam room is small and smells like antiseptic and dog treats. Veronica doesn't rush. She lets Zoe sniff around for a full 5 minutes before even attempting to touch her. I'm going to start with a visual exam, she explains. Just looking, no touching yet. Is that okay, Zoe? Zoe, of course, doesn't answer. Veronica crouches down slowly, keeping her hands visible. She studies Zoe from different angles, her expression growing more focused with each passing second. After a moment, she reaches out, moving so slowly it's almost meditative, and gently touches Zoe's neck. Zoe flinches but doesn't pull away. Veronica's fingers trace something I can't see from where I'm standing. Her jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Dewey, can you come hold her head steady? Not restraining, just giving her something to focus on besides me. I kneel in front of Zoe and let her press her forehead against my chest. Her whole body is shaking. Good girl, Veronica murmurs. You're doing so good. Her hands move along Zoe's neck, then down her sides. When she reaches Zoe's ribs, she pauses. Her fingers press gently, methodically, feeling for something. Then she stops completely. The silence stretches. What is it? I ask. Veronica sits back on her heels, and when she looks at me, there's something raw in her expression. No pity, something closer to rage that's been carefully contained. How much do you know about Zoe's history before the shelter? Nothing. They said she was a surrender. No details. She nods slowly, then reaches for her phone. I'm going to take some photos for the record. Is that okay? I don't know why she's asking me. I just nod. She photographs Zoe's neck from multiple angles, then her rib cage. When she's done, she pulls up a stool and sits, choosing her words carefully. Zoe has significant scarring around her neck, she begins. Not from a regular collar. These are deep tissue scars, the kind you get from something tight that wasn't removed for long periods. A chain, most likely. Maybe rope. She pauses. It would have been painful. Constant pressure, constant friction, weeks or months of it. My hands are still on Zoe's head. Her rib, Veronica continues, her voice quieter now. She has healed fractures, multiple, different stages of healing, which means they happen at different times, at least 3 separate incidents that I can feel. Fighting? The word comes out hollow. No. Veronica's response is immediate and firm. These aren't fighting scars. Fighting injuries are different. Tears, punctures, defensive wounds. These are impact injuries, blunt force trauma. Someone hurt her, Dewey, deliberately, more than once. The room tilts slightly. The scarring pattern on her neck, she continues, combined with the rib injuries and her behavioral profile, the shutdown response, the hypervigilance, the fear of touch, it's consistent with long-term abuse. Restraint abuse specifically. She was likely tied up, unable to escape, and hurt repeatedly. I'm not breathing right. The air in the room feels too thick. She's not aggressive, Veronica says, and now her voice cracks just slightly. She's conditioned to expect pain. Every time someone reaches for her, every time something loud happens, every time she's restrained, her brain is telling her she's about to be hurt, because that's what happened before, over and over and over. Something breaks open inside my chest. It's not sadness. Not yet. It's rage. Pure, white-hot rage that I haven't felt in years. Not since the hospital. Not since the doctors, with their apologetic faces and their medical terminology that meant we couldn't save her. Who did this? My voice doesn't sound like mine. I don't know. The shelter might have records. Someone tied her up. I'm standing now, though I don't remember getting to my feet. Someone broke her ribs, more than once, and then they just, what, dumped her at a shelter and walked away? Veronica stands too, her hands raised slightly. Dewey, and the shelter called her aggressive. The word comes out like poison. They wrote reports. They flagged her file. They made everyone afraid of her because she was traumatized. I know. She never stood a chance. My hands are shaking. She was hurt and scared, and no one looked past the label. No one asked why she was shutting down. They just decided she was dangerous and put her in the back kennel and waited for... I can't finish the sentence. For what? For someone to take a chance on her? For her time to run out? Veronica moves closer, but doesn't touch me. Dewey, breathe. I realize I'm not. I force air into my lungs, but it feels like swallowing glass. All this time, I'd been thinking maybe Zoe was just anxious. Maybe she'd had one bad owner, one bad experience. Maybe with enough patience, she'd come around. But this is systematic destruction. This is someone deciding that a living thing deserved to suffer, and then making it suffer, and then disposing of it when it broke exactly the way they'd broken it. I'm sorry, Veronica says quietly. I know this is hard to hear. How long? The question scrapes out of me. How long did she live like that? Based on the scarring depth and the healing patterns. Months at least, maybe longer. Months. I look down at Zoe, still curled at my feet, completely unaware that we're talking about her. She's just existing, the way she always does, in that state of constant bracing for the next bad thing. And I understand, with devastating clarity, why she doesn't hope. Why doesn't she trust? Why every kindness I offer her is met with confusion instead of relief. Because in her experience, kindness doesn't exist. There's only pain, or the terrible waiting before pain. What do? I ask, and I hate how broken I sound. Veronica crouches down and gently touches Zoe's head. This time Zoe doesn't flinch. You keep doing exactly what you're doing. You give her time. You give her space. You show her, day after day, that pain isn't coming. She looks up at me, and you forgive yourself for the days when it doesn't feel like enough. I nod, not trusting my voice. We stand there for a moment, the three of us, in that small exam room that suddenly feels like a confessional. She's going to need ongoing care, Veronica finally says, shifting back into professional mode. Medication for the arthritis that developed from the old injuries, regular check-ins, and probably behavioral support when you're ready. Whatever she needs. Veronica writes something on her chart. George was right about you. What did he say? That you're either crazy or exactly what she needs. She hands me a folder with care instructions. For what it's worth, I think it's the second one. In the parking lot, I sit in the truck with Zoe and cry for the first time in 2 years. Not quiet tears, ugly, body-shaking sobs that leave me gasping. Zoe watches me from her corner of the seat, her eyes reflecting something I can't name. And I realize I'm not just crying for her. I'm crying for all of it. 3 weeks after the vet visit, something miraculous happens. Zoe wags her tail. It's not much, just a slight flicker, barely a movement at all. I'm sitting on the couch reading, and she's in her usual spot under the dining room table, and I glance over and see it. Once, twice. A hesitant swish that stops as soon as she realizes I'm looking. But it happened. Good girl, I say softly, trying to keep the emotion out of my voice. Her ear twitches. Progress. By week 4, she's eating consistently, not just picking at her food when she thinks I'm not watching, but actually eating. She's gained weight. I can't see every rib anymore. The hollowness in her face is filling in. She started following me from room to room, maintaining a careful 10-foot distance but following nonetheless. When I'm in the kitchen, she appears in the doorway. When I'm in the bedroom, she settles in the hallway just outside. She's mapping the house, learning that it's safe, learning that I'm predictable. One morning, I dropped a spoon while making coffee. The clatter sends her skittering backward, but she doesn't bolt. She just freezes, watches me pick it up, then slowly relaxes when nothing bad follows. See? I told her. Just a spoon. Not everything loud is dangerous. She blinks at me. 2 days later, she lets me touch her head for 3 full seconds before pulling away. I celebrate by making her scrambled eggs, which she eats directly from my hand, her tongue rough and tentative against my palm. Week 5, I realize I'm laughing. It happens while I'm watching Zoe try to figure out what to do with the tennis ball I rolled across the floor. She approaches it like it might explode, sniffing it from every angle, poking it with one paw, jumping back when it moves. The whole performance is so earnest, so completely focused, that a laugh just bubbles out of me before I can stop it. The sound startles both of us. Zoe freezes, staring at me with wide eyes, and I realize I can't remember the last time I laughed, really laughed. Before Zoe, before the shelter, maybe even before the hospital. Laughter became something other people did, something from a version of my life that ended 2 years ago. But here I am, laughing at a traumatized pit bull's confusion over a tennis ball. Sorry, I tell her, wiping my eyes. You're doing great, girl. You're really doing great. She watches me for a long moment, then cautiously touches the ball again with her nose. I laugh again, softer this time. She doesn't run. The storm rolls in on a Saturday evening in early April. I've been watching the weather all day, seeing the warnings, but I convince myself it'll be fine. Zoe has come so far. She's stronger now, more stable. I'm wrong. The first rumble of thunder is distant, almost gentle. Zoe's head snaps up from where she's lying near the couch. Not under it anymore, but near it, which had felt like such progress, and her whole body goes rigid. You're okay, I say immediately, using the calm voice that's worked before. It's just weather. We're safe inside. The second rumble is louder. Zoe stands, her legs shaking. Zoe, sit, stay. But she's not listening to me anymore. She's somewhere else, somewhere where loud sounds mean pain is coming. The third rumble cracks across the sky like a gunshot, and Zoe runs. She hits the screen door to the back porch at full speed. I hear the metal frame bend, hear the screen tear, and then she's through it and gone into the rain-dark evening. Zoe! I'm out the door 3 seconds behind her, barefoot, no jacket, rain already soaking through my shirt. The backyard is empty. The gate is still latched. Where? Movement near the fence line. She's squeezed under the neighbor's shed, and I can see her eyes reflecting in the porch light. Wild and white-rimmed. Thunder crashes again, closer now, and she tries to dig deeper into the impossible space. Zoe, please, come here, girl. She doesn't even look at me. I drop to my hands and knees in the mud, my neighbor's motion light clicking on, and I start crawling toward the shed. The space underneath is maybe 18 inches high, filled with spider webs and God knows what else. I'm coming, girl. I've got you. I wedge myself under the shed, mud soaking through my jeans, rain pounding on the metal roof above us. It's dark and tight and claustrophobic, but I can see her now, pressed against the back wall, shaking so violently her teeth are chattering. There's blood on her front leg, a gash from the screen door probably, dark against her brindle coat. Hey, I say softly, inching closer. It's just me. It's Dewey. Lightning illuminates the space for a split second, and I see her face. Pure terror, no recognition, just an animal that's been hurt too many times to believe in safety. Thunder follows immediately, deafening, and something in me breaks, not with anger this time, with grief, with the unbearable weight of understanding that all our progress, all those small victories, the tail wags, the eating, the almost trust, can disappear in an instant because trauma doesn't heal on a schedule. It doesn't care about progress. It lives in the body, in the bones, waiting for a trigger to bring it all flooding back. I know you're scared, I tell her, my voice cracking. I know everything in you is screaming to run, to hide, to expect the worst. But Zoe, I need you to hear me. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm never going to hurt you. She doesn't move. I'm going to touch you now, just on your side, and then I'm going to pull you out of here, and it's going to be okay. I promise you. I promise. I reach out slowly, my hand shaking as badly as she is, and place my palm against her ribs. She flinches but doesn't snap. Good girl. Such a good girl. I slide my other arm under her chest and start pulling, gently but firmly, backing us both out from under the shed. She's dead weight, not fighting but not helping, just existing in a state of complete shutdown. When we finally emerge into the rain, I gather her against my chest. She's bleeding, shaking, soaked through. I expect her to struggle, to bolt again the second she has the chance, but she doesn't. Instead, she does something that stops my heart. She collapses into me, not a surrender, something deeper. Like every defense she's been holding finally gives way, and there's nothing left but exhaustion and the desperate, terrifying hope that maybe this person won't hurt her. I sit there in the mud in the rain, holding 60 pounds of traumatized dog while thunder rolls overhead, and I sob harder than I have since the vet's office. I've got you, I keep saying over and over. I've got you, girl. You're safe. You're safe. The storm rages around us. Zoe presses her head against my chest, her heartbeat frantic against mine. And I understand, with devastating clarity, that love doesn't make trauma disappear. It just gives it somewhere to land. Later, after I've cleaned the gash on her leg, not deep, just scared her more than hurt her, and after the storm has passed and the house has gone quiet, Zoe lies on the floor next to the couch. Not under it, not behind it, next to it. Close enough that I can reach down and touch her head. She's asleep within minutes, exhausted. I watch her breathe, watch her sides rise and fall, watch her legs twitch with dreams I hope are gentler than her waking memories. We're going to be okay, I whisper. I don't know if I believe it yet, but I'm going to keep saying it until I do. I go back to the shelter on a Tuesday morning, 6 weeks after bringing Zoe home. This time, I'm not bringing donations. I'm bringing questions. George Miller is at the front desk when I walk in, and his face shifts through several expressions before landing on cautious welcome. Dewey, how's... I need to see Zoe's full intake records, I interrupt. Everything, not just the incident reports. I want to know who surrendered her, when, and what documentation you have from before she got here. George's expression hardened slightly. We gave you everything relevant to her adoption. You gave me reports that made her sound like a liability. I want to see what made you write those reports in the first place. A beat of silence. Is there a problem? George asked carefully. Yeah, there's a problem. I lean against the counter. The dog you told me was aggressive? She's terrified. The bite history you documented? I've watched her panic in ways that probably looked exactly like those incidents, and she's never once tried to hurt me. Not once. George sighs, glancing toward the back office. Dewey, I understand you're attached to her, but those reports were written to protect... Protect who? Her? Because from where I'm standing, those reports almost got her killed. The words land harder than I intend. George's jaw tightens. We don't euthanize for behavior issues unless there's genuine danger, but you label them. You put them in the back kennels where no one sees them. You warn everyone away, and then what? You wait? My voice is rising. How long was Zoe going to sit in that cage before you decided she was too damaged to save? That's not fair, isn't it? The door to the back office opens, and Lorene Heller emerges, her professional mask firmly in place. Mr. Mason, is there something we can help you with? I turn to her. I want Zoe's intake paperwork. I want to know who brought her here and what they told you. I want to know when the first incident happened and who was involved. Lorene exchanges a look with George. That information is part of our internal records. I adopted her. That makes it my business. Actually, it doesn't. Her tone is polite but firm. Surrender records are confidential to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. Someone abused that dog for months. My voice drops, quiet and sharp. She has scars around her neck from being tied up, healed rib fractures from being beaten, and whoever did that just dropped her off here and walked away. You're telling me you're protecting their privacy? The room goes silent. Lorene's professional composure cracks, just slightly. We document what we observe. We don't make accusations without proof. You had proof. Veronica McClure found it in 5 minutes. Did anyone here actually examine her? Or did you just take one look at a scared pit bull and decide she was the problem? Mr. Mason, George starts, she wasn't aggressive, she was traumatized, and instead of helping her, you labeled her. I'm not yelling anymore. I'm just tired. You made her impossible to adopt. He's right. The voice comes from behind me. I turn to find a woman in her 50s standing in the doorway. A volunteer name tag clipped to her cardigan. Victoria Logan, according to the tag. Lorraine's eyes go sharp. Victoria? No. Victoria steps into the room, and there's something resolute in her expression. He deserves to know. Zoe deserves that much. Victoria, this isn't appropriate. Neither was what we did to that dog. Victoria turns to me. I was here when Zoe was surrendered. I was the one who did her intake. George and Lorraine both look like they want to intervene, but Victoria keeps talking. She came in mid-January. The owner had died, heart attack, sudden. The family didn't want her and said she was too much trouble. She was already shut down when she arrived. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't make eye contact. Classic trauma response. What happened? I ask. Victoria's hands twist together. Jason Snyder was assigned to her care rotation. He's enthusiastic but inexperienced. He tried to move her too fast, reach into her space, force interaction. She snapped at him. Didn't make contact, just snapped. But he filed an incident report. One incident, I say flatly. It should have been a note, a caution about approach methods. But we were understaffed, and Jason was shaken, and she trails off. The report flagged her file. After that, everything she did got interpreted through that lens. Lorraine steps forward. Victoria, you're oversimplifying. Am I? Victoria turns to her. The second incident was during a health check. The vet tech grabbed her collar too quickly. Zoe panicked and twisted away. The tech got scratched, barely, but it went into the report as reactive during handling. No one documented why she reacted. And the third incident? I ask. Victoria meets my eyes. There wasn't a third incident. Not really. She pulled on the leash during a walk, got tangled, and snapped at the leash itself. Earl Riles was walking her. He's been doing this for years. He knew she wasn't being aggressive. But policy requires documentation of any teeth contact with equipment or handlers. So it got written up. My hands clench into fists. 3 incidents. None of them actual aggression. But 3 strikes on her record, Victoria says quietly. After that, she was flagged as high risk. We moved her to the isolation kennels. Fewer volunteers wanted to work with her. She became the aggressive pit bull. People stopped seeing her as a dog that needed help. She became a problem we didn't know how to solve. So you just gave up on her? We didn't have the resources, Lorraine begins. Don't, I cut her off. Don't hide behind resources. You had volunteers. You had time. What you didn't have was the willingness to look past the label you put on her. Victoria nods slowly. He's right. We failed her. I failed her. Her voice breaks. I knew she was scared, not mean. I knew those reports were incomplete, but I didn't fight hard enough to change the narrative. And by the time I realized how bad it had gotten, she'd been in that back kennel for 2 months, and everyone had decided she was too hard. Too hard, I repeat. She's a dog who was abused and scared. That's not too hard. That's just Tuesday at an animal shelter. George runs a hand over his face. Dewey, I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. The lie tastes bitter. I'm devastated because Zoe isn't special. She's not the only dog this has happened to. I look at Victoria. How many? How many dogs get labeled early, mishandled, written off? Victoria's eyes fill. Too many. Give me a number. I don't have one. Guess. She's quiet for a long moment. In the 15 years I've been here, dozens, maybe more. Once a dog gets that flag on their file, their chances drop to almost nothing. Most people won't even look at them. The air feels too thick to breathe. And what happens to them? I ask, even though I know the answer. No one responds. What happens to the dogs nobody adopts? We're a no-kill shelter, Lorraine says, but her voice lacks conviction. We don't euthanize for space. But you transfer them. Send them to other facilities. Facilities that aren't no-kill. I see it in their faces. Zoe was going to be transferred, wasn't she? Victoria nods. End of March. 3 weeks after you adopted her. 3 weeks. If I'd come to the shelter 3 weeks later, Zoe would have been gone. Sent somewhere that would have looked at her file, seen aggressive pit bull, and made the practical decision. I feel sick. I need to go, I say abruptly. I'm at the door when Victoria calls out. Mr. Mason? I turn. Thank you, she says simply, for seeing her, for not walking away. I want to say something gracious, something that acknowledges her confession took courage. But all I can manage is, she never stood a chance here. Victoria's face crumples. I know. In the parking lot, I sit in my truck with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Dozens of dogs, maybe more. Labeled early, misunderstood, written off. How many are sitting in shelters right now in back kennels, invisible because someone decided they were too aggressive, too reactive, too damaged? How many are running out of time because no one bothered to ask why they're scared instead of just deciding they're dangerous? My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. How's Zoe doing? I type back. Better. She's doing better. Then I add. I think she's saving me. I start the truck and head home, where a traumatized pit bull is probably still sleeping on the floor next to the couch, finally learning that safety might be real. She's one of the lucky ones. That truth breaks something in me that I don't think will ever fully heal. The second storm comes 3 weeks later, on a Thursday night in late April. I hear it building from miles away, that low rumble that sounds like the sky clearing its throat before it screams. I'm sitting on the couch reading the same paragraph for the third time when I notice Zoe's ears swivel toward the window. Here we go. I close the book and set it aside, watching her. She's lying near the coffee table, close enough now that I can reach out and touch her without getting up. Progress that felt impossible 2 months ago. Just weather, girl, I tell her, keeping my voice steady. Remember last time? We got through it. Thunder rumbles, still distant. Zoe lifts her head, her body tensing. I wait for her to bolt, wait for that wild-eyed panic, for the desperate scramble toward any hiding place. Wait to chase her through the house or under furniture or out a door she'll break through if it means escape. But she doesn't run. She stands shaking and looks at me. Just look at me. Come here, I say softly, patting the couch beside me. Another rumble, louder now. Zoe takes one step toward me, then another. Her legs are trembling so badly she can barely walk, but she's walking toward me instead of away. That's it. You're okay. I've got you. The third rumble cracks across the sky, and Zoe flinches so hard her whole body convulses. But she doesn't stop. She keeps coming, climbing onto the couch with all the grace of a newborn deer, and then she crawls into my lap, all 65 pounds of her, trembling and terrified, pressing herself against my chest like she's trying to climb inside my rib cage where the storm can't reach her. I wrap my arms around her and something in my chest fractures. I've got you, I whisper into her fur. I've got you, Zoe. You're safe. Thunder crashes directly overhead, rattling the windows. Zoe doesn't run. She burrows deeper into my arms, her head tucked under my chin, her whole body shaking against mine. She's choosing me over her instinct to flee. She's choosing trust over terror. She's choosing to believe that safety might be real. And I break completely. The sobs come from somewhere deep, somewhere I've kept locked and buried since the hospital, since the funeral, since the day I accepted that the best parts of my life were behind me. They tear out of me in ugly, gasping waves, and I can't stop them even though some part of me knows I should be strong for her, should be calm, should be the steady presence she needs. But I can't. I can't be strong right now. Because this dog, this broken, terrified, traumatized dog that everyone told me to walk away from, just showed me more courage than I've managed in 2 years. You're so brave, I tell her through tears I can't control. You're so goddamn brave, girl. Lightning splits the sky. Thunder follows immediately. Zoe shakes harder, but doesn't leave my lap. She stays. The storm rages for 45 minutes. I hold her through all of it, talking to her in a voice that's raw and broken, telling her things I've never said out loud. Everyone said you were dangerous. Everyone said you'd hurt me. They said I was crazy to take you home. Thunder rolls. But they were wrong. You were never the problem. The world hurt you, and then it blamed you for being hurt. Her heart pounds against my palm. I won't do that to you. I won't give up on you because you're scared or damaged or hard to love. I won't quit on you the way everyone else did. The words feel like a vow. I know what it costs. I know people think I'm making a mistake. My daughter calls every day worried I'm going to get hurt. My neighbors watch us like we're a ticking time bomb. I know you're going to have bad days. I know there will be more storms, more triggers, more times when the progress disappears and we're back to square one. Lightning flashes. But I'm choosing you anyway, every day, for as long as you need me. My voice breaks. Because you chose me too, in that shelter, in that moment when you looked at me with those devastated eyes, you let me see you. And I can't unsee that. I can't walk away from it. The storm begins to fade, thunder growing distant. Zoe's shaking slows, just slightly. I won't quit on you, I whisper into her fur. Everyone else already did. But I won't, I promise you that. When the storm finally passes, Zoe stays in my lap. Not because she's frozen, not because she can't move. She stays because she wants to. I rest my hand on her head, feeling her breathe, feeling her heartbeat slow from frantic to almost normal. Outside, the rain softens to a patter. Inside, the house settles into the kind of quiet that feels earned instead of empty. My phone buzzes on the coffee table. I ignore it. There will be texts from Sarah, probably worried. Maybe more complaints from neighbors about Zoe's earlier barking during the storm. Maybe vet bills I can't quite afford showing up in my email. The costs keep adding up. The medications Veronica prescribed, the repairs to the screen door, the damaged relationship with my daughter who thinks I'm being reckless, the social isolation that comes with owning a misunderstood dog, the exhaustion of constant vigilance, the emotional weight of carrying her trauma alongside my own. It's not sustainable. Any rational person would see that. But here's what I've learned. Love isn't rational. Commitment isn't a calculation. And sometimes the things that cost us the most are the only things worth having. You know what? I tell Zoe, my voice steadier now. I'm not doing this to save you. Not anymore. She shifts slightly, her eyes half closed. I'm doing this because you're teaching me something I forgot. That broken doesn't mean worthless. That fear doesn't mean hopelessness. That the hardest things to love are often the ones that need it most. I stroke her head, feeling the scars Veronica showed me, the evidence of pain this dog has survived. You didn't give up. Even when everything in your world told you to shut down, to stop trying, to accept that suffering was all you'd ever know, you didn't give up. You kept surviving. You kept breathing. You kept existing. Thunder rumbles one last time, far in the distance now. Zoe's eyes close completely. So I'm not giving up either. An hour later, Sarah calls. I answer quietly, not wanting to disturb Zoe, who's fallen asleep across my lap. Dad, I heard the storm was bad. Is everything okay? Yeah, I say, and for the first time in months, I mean it. Everything's okay. And Zoe? I look down at the dog sleeping peacefully against me, her breathing deep and even. She's right here. She's safe. Sarah is quiet for a moment. Dad, I'm sorry. For doubting you. For being scared. I can't lose you too. You won't, I tell her. I'm not going anywhere. And neither is Zoe. Even though it's hard, especially because it's hard, after we hang up, I sit there in the dark with a traumatized pit bull sleeping in my lap. And I think about all the moments that led to this one. The shelter, the warnings, the screaming nightmares, the vet visit that broke my heart, the storm that nearly broke us both. Every moment is a choice. Every choice has a cost. And I'd pay it all again in a heartbeat. I won't quit on you, I whisper one more time. Outside, the stars emerge from behind the breaking clouds. Inside, we're both finally learning what it means to be safe. The envelope arrives on a Tuesday morning in May, 3 months and 2 weeks after I brought Zoe home. It's from the County Animal Services Department, official letterhead and everything. My hands shake slightly as I open it. Zoe watching me from her spot on the couch. Her spot now, the corner by the window where the afternoon sun hits. Behavioral Reevaluation. Case, Norna 2847, Zoe. Dear Mr. Mason, following Dr. Veronica McClure's medical assessment and behavioral consultation, in conjunction with witness statements and incident report reviews, we have completed a comprehensive reevaluation of the dog known as Zoe, intake Chaka 2847. Our findings indicate that previous behavioral classifications were based on incomplete information and trauma response patterns misidentified as aggression. All documented incidents have been reclassified as fear-based reactions with no evidence of predatory or aggressive intent. Effective immediately, Zoe's designation has been changed from high-risk, potentially dangerous to standard adoption, no restrictions. Her bite history has been expunged from county records. I have to read it 3 times before the words settle into meaning. No bite history, no restrictions. Legally, officially, she is no longer considered dangerous. I look over at Zoe, who's now fully asleep in the sunlight, her legs twitching with dreams that I hope are about running through open fields instead of running from pain. She has no idea that a piece of paper just changed her life, that the label that almost destroyed her has been erased, but the scars remain, the ones on her neck that Veronica documented. The healed fractures in her ribs, the invisible ones that live in her nightmares and her hypervigilance, and the way she still flinches sometimes when I move too quickly. Those don't get expunged. You're free, I tell her quietly. She sleeps on, unbothered by bureaucracy. That afternoon, I drove back to the shelter one last time. George Miller sees me coming through the parking lot and meets me at the door. His expression is cautious but not unwelcoming. Dewey. George. I handed him the letter. Thought you should see this. He reads it slowly, his face doing something complicated. When he looks up, there's genuine relief in his eyes. I'm glad, he says simply. Really glad. Are you? He meets my gaze. Yes. We failed that dog. I failed her. This doesn't fix it, but I'm glad she has you. Victoria Logan appears from the back. And when she sees me, her face crumples slightly. Is she? She's good, I tell her. She's really good. Better than anyone said she could be. Victoria's eyes fill. Would it be okay if I came to visit her sometime? I'd like to see. She'd like that, I interrupt. Come by whenever you want. The relief on her face is profound. We stand there for a moment, the 3 of us, in the shelter lobby where this all started. I can smell the same disinfectant, hear the same barking from the kennels in back. Somewhere in there, another dog is probably sitting in isolation, labeled as too something, too aggressive, too scared, too broken, waiting for someone to look past the file and see them. How many dogs are back there right now with flags on their files? I ask. George shifts uncomfortably. 5 currently, 3 pit mixes, 1 shepherd, 1 hound. Fear-based? Probably. He looks tired. We're trying to do better. Since Zoe, we've implemented new intake protocols, more detailed behavioral notes, mandatory trauma-informed training for all volunteers. That's good, I say, and I mean it. But I also know it's not enough. It's never enough when the system is built on labels that stick and second chances that don't come. The dogs in the back kennels, I say carefully. Can I see their files? Victoria and George exchange a glance. Why? George asks. Because Zoe wasn't special. She was just the one I happened to see. I look toward the kennel area, and I need to know if I'm seeing others clearly now, or if I'm just seeing what I want to see. George considers this, then nods slowly. Yeah. Okay. That evening, I sat on the couch with 5 manila folders spread across the coffee table. Kennel 23, Bear, Shepherd Mix, 4 years old. Flag, reactive to men. Incident, growled during approach by male volunteer. Kennel 31, Duchess, Pit Mix, 6 years old. Flag, cage aggressive. Incident, lunged at kennel door during feeding. Kennel 38, Copper, Hound, 9 years old. Flag, unpredictable. incident, snapped when touched while sleeping. Each file tells the same story Zoe's did. Fear mistaken for violence. Trauma is misread as temperament. One bad moment defining an entire life. Zoe walks over and rests her chin on my knee, looking up at me with those eyes that used to hold nothing but devastation and now hold something closer to contentment. What do you think, girl? Are they like you? She doesn't answer, obviously. Just leans against my leg with the full weight of her trust. I think about the last 3 months, the sleepless nights, the screaming nightmares, the storm that nearly broke us both, the vet visit that shattered my heart, the moment at the shelter when Victoria confessed how completely they'd failed her. I think about the cost, the money, the worry, the social isolation, the emotional exhaustion, and I think about what I've gained: purpose, connection, the ability to laugh again, the understanding that broken things can heal, even when the healing is slow and incomplete and requires more patience than you think you have. Zoe didn't need saving, I realize. Not in the way I thought. She needed witnessing. She needed someone to see her trauma and not mistake it for who she was. She needed time and space and the radical belief that she deserved both. But me, I needed saving. From the numbness, from the isolation, from the belief that the best parts of my life were already over. She saved me by letting me save her, by showing me that choosing the hard thing, the broken thing, the thing everyone else walks past, that's not foolishness. That's faith. Faith that love matters even when it's difficult. That commitment means something even when it costs everything. That seeing someone clearly, really seeing them, can be the most important thing you ever do. I pull out my phone and text Sarah, "Can you come by this weekend? I want you to meet Zoe, really meet her." Her response comes immediately, "I'd like that." Then I open my laptop and start typing. There are thousands of dogs like Zoe sitting in shelters right now. Dogs are labeled aggressive when they're traumatized. Dogs flagged as dangerous when they're terrified. Dogs are written off as too hard when they're just too hurt. Most of them will never get the second look that Zoe got. They'll sit in back kennels, invisible, while the world decides they're not worth the risk. But here's what I learned. The risk isn't in loving something broken. The risk is in walking past it because you're too afraid to see it clearly. I stop typing and look at Zoe, who's now fully sprawled across my feet, snoring softly. 3 months ago, she couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep, couldn't be trusted. Now she's hogging the couch and drooling on my socks. That's not magic. That's patience. That's presence. That's the stubborn refusal to give up even when progress feels impossible. And if it worked for her, it can work for the others. I pull up the shelter website and click on the adoption page. 5 faces stare back at me from the special needs section, each with their careful disclaimers and warnings. Requires an experienced owner. Not good with children. Needs behavioral support. Translation: we're afraid of them. We don't know how to help them. Please take them anyway. I bookmarked the page. That night I lay in bed with Zoe curled at my feet. Another milestone, her choosing to sleep in my room, and think about the volunteer's words from that first day. That dog is going to break your heart. She was right. Zoe broke my heart wide open. She broke it open enough to feel grief again, to feel joy again, to feel anything again. She broke it open enough to see clearly, to recognize trauma instead of judging it, to understand that the most dangerous thing we do isn't take chances on broken things. It's deciding they're not worth a chance at all. There are thousands more like you, I whisper into the dark, and now I know how to see them. Zoe shifts in her sleep, her paw pressing against my leg. Outside, the California night is quiet. Inside, we're both finally home.